Hello, in this video I want to have a look at the Illuminati and follow them through dictionaries and encyclopedias and see firstly how they were dealt with, described, and how they've sort of fallen out of the encyclopedias and dictionaries of the modern era. But 1828 Webster's Dictionary, this is the online version, so it's obviously a screenshot, but Illuminati, a church term anciently applied to persons who had received baptism, in which ceremony they receive a lighted taper, as well as a symbol of faith and grace they had received by that sacrament. But now if we look at the definition 1 and 2, the name of a sect of heretics who sprung up in Spain about the year 1575 and who afterward appeared in France. Their principal doctrine was that by the means of a sublime manner of prayer they had attained to so perfect a state as to have no need of ordinances, sacraments and good works. Most interesting, relevant is the second definition, a name given to certain associations of men in modern Europe who combined to overthrow the existing religious institutions and substitute reason, by which they expected to raise men and society to perfection. Now we'll go on to the next one, which is Webster's Dictionary 1935. Okay, so in the Webster's Dictionary American 1935, I'll go straight to D. Members of a secret, rationalistic, anti-clerical sect founded in 1776 by Adam Weishaupt, professor of canon law at Ingolstadt, called also perfectibilists. Also you can see Martinists and Quietists and Hesychasts. I'm not sure of the pronunciation there, but just as an example of the evolution, I would say, and then leading to the devolution of the descriptions of these in encyclopedias and dictionaries. And these encyclopedias and dictionaries are very different from Wikipedia, which is not a source. It's worth mentioning that these encyclopedias and dictionaries were written and edited and done in a scholarly way. They're not Wikipedia. But also sort of worth mentioning is the number 4, an obscure sect of French familists. And now we'll go to the Columbia Encyclopedia 1935, but the 1957 print edition. Okay, so now we have the Columbia Encyclopedia 1935, but the 1957 reprint. And again, it's the Illuminati is included, but again, it's the definitions are sort of changed and it's a little bit broader, but we'll have a look at those now. So the Illuminati, Latin for enlightened, rationalistic society founded in Germany soon after 1776 by Adam Weishaupt, a professor at Ingolstadt. It had close affinities with the Freemasons and seems to have been organized according to a Masonic plan. For 10 years it was very popular among German rationalists, but it seems as a society to have had a limited influence. The Roman Catholic Church, which Weishaupt had left in his youth and rejoined before his death, condemned the Illuminati, and in 1785 the Bavarian government dissolved the organization. It did not long survive. Other groups have called themselves Illuminati, especially a mystical sect of Spain and France flourishing in the 16th century. The Rosicrucians are also called themselves Illuminati. Now, an interesting point is it says that formed soon after 1776 and it had a limited influence. Well, I would like to challenge that and paraphrase something a Mason mentioned to me on one of my posts, that he laughs at the notion that the US of A was a Masonic plot. He says, of course it was the first secular nation on earth. Now, all of these Illuminati definitions, although they slightly change, they still got the basic concept of that it was an anti-church organization. Now, you consider the time, 1776, the church still pretty much had a stranglehold on life, and of most of the people. It restricted schooling, it restricted especially women, and non-conformists were very poorly treated. And so 1776, what was the influence? Had a limited influence. Well, I would challenge that and say it had a great influence, because it led to the foundation of the first secular republic of at least the modern times, probably of at least all of recorded history. Okay, so now we'll look at Odom's dictionary, English publication. This is the 1946 edition, and they're still including Illuminati in the entries there. But Illuminati, persons pretending to be specially enlightened, any of several religious societies priding themselves on their supposed enlightenment as to certain beliefs. So now we can start to see the shift away from the older, more original, let's say the more accurate description of the Adam Weishaupt and the anti-church societies. And then now we'll skip forward, and this is the 1975 or 76 World Book Encyclopedia, and now there's just simply no reference to the Illuminati at all. And now we have the 1973, possibly up to 1976 Encyclopedia Britannica, and there's still a trace of an Illuminati definition in there, but it's pretty much been expunged from the record, let's say. But 19th century nationalistic Italian intellectual movement. So we see as we go back in time, the definitions are well, quite good, and they have multiple definitions, but especially the one regarding Adam Weishaupt. Okay, so I think it's worth just a quick review of the Columbia Encyclopedia definition of the Illuminati, and a rationalistic society founded in Germany soon after 1776 by Adam Weishaupt, a professor at Ingolstadt. Close affinities to Freemasons, and seems to have been organised to a Masonic plan. Now, especially in Australia, not too long ago, the Masons were very basically, if you were a Catholic, and you were excommunicated for being a Mason, because they were anti-papist. They were against the power of the Church and the authority of the Pope to rule over so many aspects of people's lives. Going back to 1776, this was much worse. Like any nonconformist, anyone who challenged church authority, was really up against the wall for it. And that was one of the reasons why these organisations, Masons and Illuminati, the true Illuminati, the original, had to organise themselves secretly, because the church was still the Inquisition. And so what else happened in 1776? So they say that the Weishaupt Illuminati had a limited influence. Well, in 1776, the Declaration of Independence was written, and it formed the basis for the first secular nation on earth. So basically all the sort of liberties that we consider as basic human rights now, the Charter of Human Rights, very much connected to the Freemasons, founding fathers of America, and the influence of groups and of philosophies such as that of the Illuminati. So if we look at the founding fathers, not just George Washington, but even people such as Thomas Paine, they were very much not. It was simply not about removing the English king. It was also about removing the church authority and that greater system of authority which regulated religion, regulated access to knowledge, to education. Basically what you might say is like the Islamic world now. Christianity was very much the same back then in regards to women being property, and so much of the modern charter of human rights and these things that we now take for granted were 100% born from this. They did not exist in that time. It was, the Inquisition, was still maybe the witch burnings had were drawing to an end. There might still been a few sporadically, but at that time, yes, the church and the royal family establishment was very much in everyone's pocket, was in everyone's mind, telling them what to do and what to think and how to worship, and forcing them to worship if they chose not to. But the Illuminati of Adam Weishaupt and the Declaration of Independence and the founding of America, and basically the founding of modern democratic secular governments, was an Illuminati plot. It was a Masonic plot, and how can that be bad? To be frank, people like some of those, like what's his name, the 700 Club, those feral bastard early morning preachers who are telling you how to live your life and telling you to send them money while they drive in Rolls Royces, or on the other hand, these David Icke guys who are talking about freedom and screaming blah de blah, and then one moment praising the independence, and then 2 words later poo-pooing everything Illuminati as if it was some satanic plot. But the evidence is clear. It's the world that we live in, and you just got to read what the principles were of the Illuminati, compare them to the strength of the religious and royalist structures at the time, and then compare them to the Declaration of Independence and the US Constitution and the constitutions which come from there. So you see so many other nations have basically adopted the US Constitution word for word because of the way that it's separated church from state, number one. So that was the Illuminati plot, to separate church from state, to give access of universal education, and that everyone should be able to read and write. Everyone should be able to choose how they worship. Everyone should be able to read their Bible or their Torah or their Quran or their whatever their religious text, and to interpret it and to preach it in the way that they want to, and for that not to be under the law. The only law regarding religion is the freedom of religion, the freedom to worship as you want, or the freedom not to worship as you want. That's the Illuminati plot, and that's the Declaration of Independence. And so now in the modern world, there's a lot of confusion as, are the Illuminati still around? Well, according to the documents, they're not. So all of these, and I don't deny there are very corrupt and evil organizations in this world. However, they are not Illuminati as in what Illuminati was. They're evil organizations, and basically ignorant people have thrown the Illuminati word onto these organizations and these bastards who are out there. However, when it comes to the Illuminati of Adam Weishaupt and to George Washington and to Thomas Paine, especially considering the context of history, as the society was built at the time, it was the Illuminati and it was the Freemasons of the time who did so much to begin the liberation of humanity and to begin the modern secular state of and this great movement that we've had towards a scientific and a reasoned and a more just society. Now, we've still got a long way to go, but if it was for the anti-Illuminati forces at the time, we would still be in the tyrannical squalor that defined that part of history. And so we're far from perfect, but we've come a long way, and it was because of secret societies that so much of our modern liberties and the rights that we take for granted, even things like not just education, health insurance, credit unions, land ownership for the common man, was an impossible dream back then, and now it's almost considered a right. And it was only because, again, of these people who did this in the face of religious authorities and religious nut jobs that you can see on the early morning TV asking for money. So I'll end it up now, but now, of course, don't ever take my word or anyone else's word for it. I'm just giving you keys here, and if you look and and put yourself in the place and look at the documents, look at what actually happened, look at where we actually were at that time, and compare it to the the majority of Illuminati stuff out there now. They talk about now in the modern world, there are scumbags out there, and you just got to look at your politicians to see, there's no denying that. But the Illuminati of then, and the secret societies of then, even up till basically the mid 20th century, these supposed satanic secret societies have worked towards giving so much liberty, so much rights, increasing the standard of living, increasing freedom, and so much more. And so anyway, I hope you take this on board and study it and have a look for yourself, and you'll see that these the people who scream satanic secret societies, Illuminati, and either they're lying or they simply don't know what they're talking about. But I'm very curious at people who will use the chant 1776 will then the next sentence scream against the Illuminati and even against Adam Weishaupt himself, and while in the next sentence praise George Washington, and then in the next sentence either ignore or pour and scorn on people like Thomas Paine. I think the important thing is to be open-minded and to be consistent, and people like David Icke, they muddy the waters, and they're actually very dangerous, and they're controlled opposition. And whether they know it or not, they're working for the religious authorities. They're working to bring back this a society of paranoid witch hunts and demon pointing. And you just look at the way that they point at people and accuse them and say that they're this, they're that, they're satanic, they're the devil. They're always calling the other person, the others, as sort of somehow subhuman and below them. And I think, that condemns these people as for what they really are. Anyway, so please just look through the documentation, compare it to the history, and form your own opinion on these things. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you've learnt something. I know this is a very emotional, if not controversial, issue, and that people will tend to jump to the defence of Jonestown and David Icke. But look, I don't. I think these people are controlled opposition, if not unhinged. But that's a separate thing. So anyway, hope you enjoyed. Have a good one.